What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It is Tuesday, July 22nd, while I record this video. But there's no timely, late breaking news, up to the minute stuff to worry about. So don't worry about the day I recorded it. If that's important, then come to the live stream. I'm doing the live stream on Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 to 9 if you're in the East Coast, and whatever that is where you live, you'll know. Pretty much all TV and all of everything that goes on in this world is based on Eastern Standard Time, because that's where New York City, Washington, D.C., all the important cities are. And everybody else has to kind of figure out what it is for their own neck of the woods, especially if you're on the West Coast. No commercials during the live stream. We're just chilling, we're having a party, we're having a good time, booting the trolls, whatever. There's this guy who, I'm sure he'll be back. He wants to show up and call me a loser, but he has nothing better to do with his life than to make 25 YouTube accounts so that he can show up and leave one shitty comment, get kicked off the channel, and then do it again and again and again and again. I think, that's the sign of a fucking loser right there, who's got nothing better to do than make a bunch of fake accounts so that you can show up for 2 seconds to troll a guy in a live stream that's got 15 people max watching the live stream. Wow, good for you. Good job, buddy. Do it again. Let's see what happens. If you want to contact me, adam@litgood.com. And if you want to support this channel, if you think I grovel and beg too much for money, well, you can go to donate.litgood.com. That's a digital chicken bucket. You can throw a few bones in there if that's what you do. Free.litgood.com. You can get some free wallpaper for your phone screens and that kind of stuff. When I get into my photography deeper, I'll be uploading a lot of that stuff. There's just so much. I've been so many places. And I just keep thinking about, somebody I work with is from Detroit, and I start thinking about, oh my God, I've got 100 good photos of Detroit that I would love to put out there. Somebody else is talking about St. Louis. I'm like, man, I've got hundreds of good photos of St. Louis. Pittsburgh, all of the cities, Miami, the beaches, Florida, all of it. There's so much. I would love to make, that would be my dream would be to do that full time, to just travel and sell photography. But if I can, get into where I'm just living a remote lifestyle where all the work I do is just, all I need is a laptop and an internet connection and a dream, then, I can do all the things. Right now it's just, time management has been my Achilles heel we're on 2 months now of living in a new place after I moved out of the tool shed, and right away my bike ride to and from the bakery got a little bit longer, and I'm feeling it. It definitely 25 miles each way. It used to be about 20 miles each way. It hits harder. Not much, but it does. I'm noticing it, the pain. Yesterday, today's Tuesday, 25-mile ride in, work at the bakery, lifting heavy bags of flour, 50-pound bags, unloading a delivery truck, putting all the stock away, rotating all the stock, all that stuff, and then just being on my feet, doing whatever there is to do, mixing dough, working the ovens, moving things around, cleaning, whatever it is, washing dishes. Standing there, and we get so many. Our dishes pile up so high, so fast sometimes that you go back there to do the dishes, and you're back there for 3 hours doing dishes. Oh, and dishes like mixing bowls from a industrial mixer that are the size of the sink. I don't even know what they probably weigh. I'm gonna guess they weigh 30 pounds. It's my guess. And you gotta watch your hands. If you're flipping these things and moving them around in the sink, you could, I'm not saying you'd take a finger off, but I've gotten beat up from these mixing bowls before. That's my least favorite thing to wash. You gotta really watch where your hands are when you're moving these things around. Then riding the bike 25 miles to come home. Beautiful day yesterday, no rain at all. Sunny, hot. About 10 miles into the 25, I stopped to get my Gatorade fill up at this convenience store. Glad I did. The electrolytes. Problem is, if I go past that store and all of a sudden start to hit the wall because I'm like electrolyte and crashing, because I don't, your body will just boom. It'll be like a switch got flipped, and you just shut off, and you're done, and you have no energy all of a sudden. And so I try to stave that off. Like yesterday it was so hot that I stopped at the convenience store to grab a Slim Jim and a couple of bottles of Gatorade. And ice cold Gatorade, it's like instantaneous jolt of energy, just from the salts that you're putting back in your body. When you watch the Tour de France, at the end of a hot day, these people are covered in salt. You can see the salt stains all over their uniform, all over. Especially if their uniforms are black, it's just blotches of salt all over the place. You expel so much salt from your body that you could probably, season food with it. If you could shake your uniform over a dish and probably get enough salt in your diet. But it's crazy. So you just gotta replace that, and if you don't, it hurts. I learned that a number of years ago. I was dating a doctor, and I was having some issues, and she's like, here, take some of these, some electrolyte tablets, and it was instantaneous. Boom, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I got all this energy again. And I was like, boy, I guess that is important, huh? I never really had I never got into sports to the point where, nutrition. I mean, Gatorade was always good to drink on a long bike ride. But I was, this was like 110 degrees out. We were out mountain biking, and I was just like this. I was just falling out. We had all this energy, and then all of a sudden I didn't. And I'm just sitting there like this, like, oh my God, we gotta go, we gotta keep going. And I took a couple of those electrolyte tablets, drank a little bit of water, and was like, boom, snapped right the fuck out of it. But the energy that it takes to do this bakery thing twice a week, 25-mile commute on a bicycle for a job is tough. If it was a job where I could sit in a chair in front of a computer all day, that's a different thing. It would probably feel pretty good. But being a job where being a job, sitting in front of a computer all day, that would work. But being at a job where you're on your feet working all day, that's not. It's the opposite. It's 13 hours of non-stop physical exhaustion. It's almost the same level of exhaustion that I would reach going on a 400-mile bike ride back in the day. You know, riding a bike from 4 in the morning. On day one, I would leave at like 4 in the morning and just go as far as I can, maybe quit at 10 o'clock at night. So 18 hours of biking, but you gotta subtract stopping at a restaurant to eat, stopping to sit on a log, take a little break, stopping to take a water break, whatever, stopping to eat dinner somewhere, stopping to grab a couple beers, whatever. It adds up. But probably being on the bike 12 hours, 13 hours out of the 18 that it took to get from point A to B, and then maybe I'd cover 150 or more miles on that day, but then each subsequent day gets a little bit harder, and it's like, okay, day 2 was about 120 miles, day 3 was about 100 miles, and then you end up at your destination or whatever. But oof. But like the amount, like getting up, I don't really, on day 2, I'm probably not going to get on the bike until about 9 in the morning. Day 3, it might be 10 in the morning. It just depends. It depends on a lot of different things. But that's what it feels like doing this bakery thing. If I had to do the bakery 6 days a week, 5 days a week, I'd be destroyed. By the 3rd day, I'd be done. It would feel almost exactly the same as going on a 500-mile bike ride feels, because the energy from beginning to end, I can't wear my fitness tracker at the bakery, so I don't know how many calories I burn, my heart rate, like the exertion that you do. And there is a lot of standing on your feet, but it's still energy and movement, and you're not resting. So I don't know. I've been thinking about, like, can I get a chest mounted Garmin device that would take over when the wristband can't be used? It's possible. They're not cheap, so it's not high on my priority list, but it has to be the same brand if I was going to do it, because you could get a Fitbit or a Polar or another brand, and then none of this shit talks to each other. So another thing I started doing is I set up a MyFitnessPal account. I've used this in the past. I'm not going to pay for it. There's a paid version, but all I'm using it for is to track my calories. The actual fitness, I'll use Garmin, which I have a free. I'm not paying for the Garmin account. Strava is a paid account because you get more. So out of all the different apps, I'll pay a monthly fee for Strava, but I'm not paying for the other ones. Strava is what I use to track my mileage for walking, hiking, biking, canoeing, swimming, whatever. And it's good for that. It's probably out of all the different apps for that, it's my favorite. It's very difficult to get all these fitness apps to talk to each other, to synchronize properly with each other, and to, I've got a different app that I put my weight in every day. If I wanted to get a smart scale like I used to have, a Wi-Fi scale, then that would have its own app. And that app won't talk to the other apps properly, and they try to synchronize with each other, but it's a shit show. So the more factors, some people wear an Apple Watch, but then they might have a Garmin Fitness Watch or whatever. And the Apple Watch is great, I guess, if you like having a phone on your wrist. I don't. And then you have to charge that thing on a daily basis. You have to, at some point, you got to charge it. The charge doesn't last. I mean, I don't know what they're like today, but this thing, I charge it once a week. The Garmin watch, I have to charge it about once a week. It goes about 7 days on a full charge. You turn off a couple of the battery draining features that you don't need. 7 days on this thing. 7 days I can go without having to charge it. And it takes about an hour to 2 hours to charge. So I can sit at my desk here. I've got a USB port on the desk. I can just go, and then like 2 hours later or whatever, put it back on. I could charge it at the bakery when I'm not allowed to wear it. Because you can't wear a watch when you work with food, because it's a germ trap. You know, you got all these nooks and crannies and stuff. And plus you got to wear gloves to work with food, and so it just gets in the way. But I'd like to know how much energy I'm burning. According to these tools, the biking alone burns over 2,000 calories going to and from. I think it said 2,000. It sounds about right to me. Based on my heart rate and all that stuff. And it's saying you're burning about 2,000 calories. Like it said, I burned 900 on the way in, and I burned like 11 or 1,200 on the way home. I worked harder on the way home yesterday. I tried to perform. I hit the wall at about halfway, so my second half of the ride, I was just spinning the pedals. The first half of the ride, there was a long segment of a couple miles on Strava, and I was actually trying to beat my record. And I think I got to a point where the wind was blowing in my face, and I'm like, man, there's no way I'm going to beat that record. And so I backed off just a tad. I was 3 seconds slower. I got my second place record for that stretch of road by 3 seconds. So if I hadn't backed off, and if I had just hammered down and just didn't give up because of the wind, when I set the record, I had a tailwind. And so, I mean, I guess I am getting stronger because I was only 3 seconds slower with the wind in my face than I was when I made the record with the wind in my back. So, on the same bicycle. So, I don't know, it just, there's probably a lesson in there for you, don't give up or something like that. But the energy drain of just doing that 2 days a week now. Saturday, having a day off on Sunday where I feel like crap. Monday doing it again, and then Tuesday feeling like crap. It's the energy drain it's my biggest problem that I'm facing right now. And so I read this book called Jesus Calling, the Daily Devotional, written by Sarah Young, which is, she writes the book from the perspective of, it's Jesus talking to you every day, giving you something to chew on, right? Kind of like you're having a conversation with him based on something in the Bible. And so I turned to that yesterday morning before I went to the bakery. And so the entry, well, it lines right up with what I'm feeling right now. It usually does. It's very, very strange that I'll have a major focus on my mind, and then here, I'll read it. It says, because I've been talking about, before I read it, I've been talking about how my body needs more rest. I'm not getting enough rest and recovery. And so the entry for yesterday was, rest in my presence when you need refreshment. Well, how about that? Resting is not necessarily idleness as people often perceive it. Right there. Resting is not necessarily idleness. Like, I feel guilty when I take a day off to do nothing, which is rare to do nothing. Sunday was close to nothing, But I did some dishes. I did a little bit of cleaning around the house. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't open the door. I didn't even set a foot outside. But at about 9 o'clock at night, I was like, man, I got to get this bicycle done. I have my Silver Bullet bicycle has been on the rack for at least 3 weeks from the day I did the video of the bike tune-ups, and I realized that my brake pads were worn down to the metal, and so it was metal grinding against metal. And so I had to replace the brake pads. I had them sitting here. I bought a pair of brake pads. I wanted a certain brand, but I wanted to get them like right now, so I got a different brand and had them shipped so that they, Amazon Prime, they got them here the next day. But then they sat here for 3 weeks at least to where I could have got the brand that I wanted and had them by Sunday. But I thought I was going to do this work a long time ago, and I didn't. So now I've got brake pads. I've got, I just bought a bell. Really, really small, little compact little bike bell. At low profile. You don't even notice that it's on the handlebars. It's so tiny. And this thing bangs. It's like you flick the little switch, and it's like, it's like, holy shit, that little thing is loud. It's loud. It's louder than the bell on the other bike. And it bangs like somebody's going to hear this thing from a football field away if I'm coming up on them. And I just, and they're going to hear like, what in the hell was that? And they're going to turn around and be like, get out of my way. It's perfect. Tiny little bell. A lot of sound came out of this thing. I'll probably do a review on it, put the link when I get the Amazon thing figured out. Might be the perfect little review for a thing. Get that ball rolling. And then I bought a clamp, like a shim of, I don't know what it's called, a mount, so that I could take a Garmin GPS wristwatch, but it's like this big, it's huge, and mount it to my handlebars and use that as a speedometer, as a tool on that bike. So I can keep that Silver Bullet a minimalist bike. I'm not putting speakers on it. I don't have all these crazy things mounted to it. My Red Rocket has probably an extra 5 pounds of stuff bolted onto it. It's like a Cadillac. The Red Rocket's like driving a Cadillac. The Silver Bullet's like driving a Porsche. And so, the Cadillac, that's like driving a couch. That's like, you want that to be like an entertainment center couch, on wheels, kind of all the bells and whistles, comforts, the big ass GPS navigation system and all that. You're driving a Porsche, you don't want all that crap. You just want to go fast. You don't want all this stuff added to it. I don't care, manual locks, manual doors, regular knobs, just a basic music system. I don't need a big screen in front of me. I just want to fly. I just want to go fast. I want to rack up them speeding tickets. So that's like the difference between the two bikes that I have. One is just to go fast, efficient, but it still has to be a commuter bike. It still has to be a bike that I'm comfortable commuting in a city surrounded by people and cars and obstacles and like a danger or whatever. But it's not necessarily meant to go racing. And there are a few things on that silver bike that make it a friendly commuter bike. It's got an extra set of brake levers on top of the handlebars just to give me access to being able to stop in an emergency. I've got a bell on there now, but I have the little tiny bike computer with GPS. And then I have one water bottle holder because I'm really not gonna ride that bike far enough where I need 3. And if I do, I'll just put a Camelback bladder in my backpack and carry the water on my back. So I'm trying to keep that bike super light and nimble and minimalist. The other bike is just decked out with all kinds of gadgets. So I can mount my phone on the handlebars and have all the apps and Google Maps and the directions and the turn-by-turn directions and the whole, like all of it. So anyway, Jesus, back to that. Rest in my presence when you need refreshment. Resting is not necessarily idleness, as people often perceive it. When you relax in my company, you are demonstrating trust in me. Trust is a rich word, laden with meaning and direction for your life. I want you to lean on, trust, and be confident in me. When you lean on me for support, I delight in your trusting confidence. Many people turn away from me when they are exhausted. They associate me with duty and diligence, so they try to hide from my presence when they need a break from work. How this saddens me. As I spoke through my prophet Isaiah, in returning to me and resting in me, you shall be saved, and quietness and trust shall be your strength. So even God is telling you, you don't have to just work, and never take a break. He wants you to take a break. God took a break. He made the world and everything in it, the whole universe, the stars, the moons, the sun, the waters of the earth, all the animals, everything in it. And then he made Adam and Eve, and he's like, all right, I'm tired. I'm taking a day off. And that's why we have, a day off on Sunday, generally speaking. Or we're supposed, God tells us we need to take a day off. The Jews went way beyond what the intent of God had for a day off. They're not supposed to lift a finger and work at all, except to go to a synagogue and back. I heard a story. Pittsburgh has a big Jewish community called Squirrel Hill. Oh my God, I hate these. Fruit flies. Every now and then, they like the brightness of my computer screen, so they they come right in here. Every now and then, I'm getting rid of them, but I think it's just the season that I'm in. I put 2 traps out with the apple cider vinegar. Taro makes the traps, but that's pretty much what you're filling them with is apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to get some more of that. But I've got 2 of these things laid out to catch them in the daytime, and they work. They're every time I check these little traps, they're floating in there. They're getting them. And then you might hear it pop in the background throughout the day. You might just hear, pow! I've got that electric tennis racket bug swatter thing just sitting in a window, turned on permanently. When the sun goes down, you hear it. Pop, poppity, pop, pop, pop. Not constantly, but you will hear it from time to time, and it's kind of like, whoa, what was that? Oh, it's the bug zapper. But it's working. It's doing a good job. And I have to make sure to take, if there's anything in the trash, like lemon peel, lemon discards and any food, gotta take the trash out more often than I want to, just to keep these damn things at bay. But anyway, aside from the bugs, the place is pretty good. It's just bugs are basically a project that I'm just gonna have to keep working on the whole time I live here, because I live down south now, and that's what we have. But Jesus, God tells you He wants you to rest. God tells us in the Bible He wants us to rest and come to Him for, the energy that you need and all of that. When you relax in my company, you are demonstrating trust in me. So like yesterday, I needed to rest. Like Sunday, I needed to just, I could feel it all day long. I'm like, man, I got all this stuff I gotta do, but I need to rest. If I don't rest, I won't be able to do what I have to do tomorrow. So it took all day just to kind of, I got a second wind. I don't know where it came from. It may have been that I ate dinner at about 6 or 7, and then I watched some more of the Tour de France, and I finally, at like 9 o'clock, I don't know what possessed me to do it, I decide, okay, I'm gonna work on the Silver Bullet because I want to ride that bike tomorrow. I think it's because I got that bell. The bell came from Amazon, and I dinged it a few times. I'm like, man, that's really cool. And it just, I don't know, like I had all these things. I had the brakes, the GPS, and the bell to put on the bike. And so at about 9 o'clock, I was like, well, I'm gonna get out the GPS. I'll put fresh batteries in it. It takes 2 AAA batteries, and you'll get about 7 whole days worth of, like, you could turn it on, leave it on for like 7 days before you need to put new batteries in. And I thought, you know, this thing's kind of buggy. It's software. It's hard to deal with. So if this thing gives me any hassle, or if it becomes a problem, I had to reconnect it to the Garmin app on my phone, and I'm just like, all right, if this becomes a pain, then forget it. I'm just gonna not work on the bike tonight. Well, 5 minutes later, I had the whole thing done. I'm like, well, okay, that was easy. I guess I gotta work on the bike now. So now it's 9:15, and I predict, I'm like, it's gonna take an hour to do all this at my pace right now. And so I did the brakes, I did the handlebars with I got the GPS mounted. It's a tight fit, really tight fit, because there's the extra brake cables from the handlebar mounted, top mounted brakes. There's very tight tolerances up there for some of this stuff, but I made it work. But I had to mess with it for a minute to figure it out. Not exactly how I wanted it to be, and the tolerances are tighter than I wanted it to be, but it works. And then I got the bell mounted, ding ding, and I had it all kind of adjusted, and I had everything done, and I look at the clock, it's 10:15, exactly an hour, 1 hour to the minute. And then I had to spend about 10 minutes. I hung the bike up on the rack, put it away for the night. Had to spend about 10 minutes putting away all the tools and cleaning up after myself. And so by 10:30, I'm like ready to go chill and watch the Tour de France again, but with the knowledge that, like, okay, now I can ride this bike tomorrow morning and I'll enjoy it. Like, it'll be nice. It's more variety. It's a different bike. It goes faster for the same amount of energy. Like, whatever. I got some problems with my feet. I've got corns from just, it happens. It happened when I was homeless. I had some nasty ones when I was homeless, and they were hard to get rid of. I've got this one on my right foot that's so bad. I've been picking away at it, and using the liquid corn remover is way better than those little pads, but you just got to work at it. It's crazy how much skin and this thing's pain, so much pain. But they're getting better. Once the toe heals after what I'm doing to it to get rid of this shit, once the toes heal, I'll be back to like feeling normal. But I have to be on it. Like every week, every 2 weeks, I probably gotta like really like do some toe maintenance to make sure that this doesn't come back to bite me again. Because they get bad. And so you need to rest. And so yesterday was a rest day that I just happened to do a little bit of work. But I was talking about like the Jewish people and their rest on Saturdays and taking it too far. There's a Jewish community in Pittsburgh called Squirrel Hill, and it's like the who's who of Jews. That's their neighborhood, and it's like Little Israel. Somebody was telling me a story about how a Jewish guy would stand on the sidewalk on Saturday, and he would ask people as they were walking by if they could light his cigarette for him. Do you got a lighter? Hey, do you got a lighter? Can you light my cigarette for me? Okay. And it would be because it's the Sabbath and you're not allowed to work. He's not allowed to light his own cigarette because that would be considered work. And I'm like, you're a fucking retard. So you mean standing out in the fucking street, flagging down somebody, the next 10, 15 people that walk by, hitting them up for a light from a lighter because you're not allowed to do work today? That's not work? Like technically going like with a lighter to light your own fucking cigarette is work, and you're breaking God's law. But leaving your house, walking up and down the fucking sidewalk like a fucking panhandler, talking to 10 or 15 people trying to find somebody who can light your cigarette for you, that's not work. And that's totally fine with God. Get the fuck out. Like that's the shit that Jesus came to this world and he was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you're totally bastardizing the word of my Father right there. Like you're coming up with all these dumbass rules that didn't come from my dad. That's not what he meant. He meant chill and relax and worship God on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day it is. I'm sure God doesn't even care what day you pick out of the week. Just pick one and do it. Sit down, chill, relax, don't work. That doesn't mean nitpick about what counts as work and what doesn't count as work. Like cooking your dinner. I'm sure Jewish people eat food on Saturday. Making a meal, preparing a meal, cooking dinner, that's work, isn't it? Oh no, that's not work. But lighting your own cigarette, that's a like who there's probably a book as thick as the fucking Bible now to tell Jewish people what counts as work and what doesn't count as work on Saturday. In the Amish community, they're Christians. They celebrate, but the Amish community is a Christian community. They celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday. You're trying to get around town, you live in Amish country on Saturday, good luck. That's prime time Amish right there with all the horse and buggies are on the road on their way to church. Down the fucking road, man, you can't get anywhere. And you just gotta be cool. Like, I mean, some people act to the Amish with their horse and buggies like these Houston drivers act towards me when I'm riding my bicycle down the road, and I'm going faster than a horse and buggy, that's for sure. But they'll drive by these horse and buggies like, brr, brr, fuck you, you fucking you stupid assholes, and yelling and screaming. Like, oh my goodness, those horses have to be trained to put up with these asshole drivers. So they don't go crazy and get spooked and kill everybody in the horse and buggy. But that's what I mean. Like they're just chilling. They're taking their day off to go worship the Lord. Maybe go to a family dinner or something like that. And they're so chilling that they don't drive. They're just like down the road. Takes them like 2 hours, I mean, if I had to take a horse and buggy to get to the bakery and back, I'd have to leave at like 2 in the morning, 25 miles. By the time I get to the bakery, I hitch my horse, it's probably going to be almost noon. I could work like 4 hours, and then I gotta get moving. This is gonna take like 5 hours each way, probably 5 hours for a 25-mile trip. That sounds about right. They're probably moving at about 5 miles an hour. I go about 15 on the bike. So yeah, they don't care. Saturday's their day off. They're not out raising a barn. They're just chilling, going on a horse and buggy ride. We go to church. We'll go shun some people out of the community. We'll go have a dinner somewhere, and then cloppity clop clop home, and that's about it. That's about it for today. Now, you gotta hitch the horse. You gotta put the horse. You gotta tie the buggy to the horse. You gotta park the horse and buggy. You gotta hitch the horse. You gotta feed the horse. All this work goes into the horse itself. Like, so, you're breaking the Sabbath rules by hitching your horse to a buggy? You know what I mean? Like, what, you gotta hitch it on Friday and leave the horse tied to the buggy on Friday night all night so that you don't have to do work on Saturday to put the horse on the buggy? Like, it's just dumb. But God wants you to rest. That's clear. He wants you to chill. He wants you to rest. He wants you to recover. He wants you to have energy again. And the way that you do that is rest. At least 1 day a week. And he doesn't want you to feel guilty for taking a break. You know, our society that we live in right now, when you take a break, and if you decide, you know what, I'm just going to chill for the day. Oh, you lazy dick. That's the first. You know, if I told people that I just sat and did nothing yesterday, I'd get a bunch of comments. Oh, you're fucking lazy, and then you wonder why your life isn't getting any better. Well, it's because you're fucking lazy. Sometimes resting will bring better things to your life than going full bore at a job. I can tell you for a fact, I worked at a company. They fired me for going to the hospital for the birth of my son. It just tells you how much work. They had these 22-year-old kids sleeping on cots in the office. They would come in, let's say Monday morning, they come in at like 7 in the morning, and they're working until like 1 in the morning. Take a few breaks here and there. Sometimes they'll go home for an hour, eat and take a shower, and then come back to the office or whatever. But they'll work. They were working till like 1 in the morning. Then they sleep on a cot 1, 2 in the morning, whatever. Sleep for a few hours, and then get up and just slither over to their desk and sit back down and start working again. They're working like 100 hours a week or more for a salary of probably 40, 50 grand. And when you divide that, let's just do the math here. If they make, let's say make $50,000 a year, divide that by 52 weeks, that's 961 gross per week, divided by the 40-hour work week, that's about 24 an hour. But you divide that 50,000 by the 52 weeks in a year, you get the 961 per week, but you divide it by 100 hours, you're making like $9 an hour at that point. I mean, you'd be better off going to fucking, I make more than that working at the bakery per hour. And this is like a professional software job. But that's like what companies, that's what like working for Google, working for Facebook, you know, all these big names that you want to put on your resume, it's just work. And then you go home for the weekend and you're supposed to be working nonstop. You're supposed to be available 24/7. If somebody sends you an email at 2 in the morning on Saturday night, you're supposed to respond by 3 in the morning. Like, you're supposed to be on it. And if you don't, then you're going to get an email at 3 in the morning. Why didn't you respond to me yet? Like a psycho ex-girlfriend that's trying to get back together with you, and you're just like, leave me the fuck alone. And so that's what these companies are like to work for. I would come in on Monday. I learned really fast. So, like, after I was fired for going to the hospital for the birth of my son, prior to that, I used to be friends with the people I worked with. I used to get to know them on a personal level, hang out, do things with people, open up and let them know who I really am, and vice versa. I would get to know who they really were and all that kind of stuff. And I had some really good friendships. And then after that event, I was fired for going to the hospital for the birth of my son. I made it a policy that I have followed to this day. Do not be friends with people you work with, ever. Ever. Outside of work. Don't. I'm starting to break out of that. The freelance work, the people I'm doing freelance work for, I consider them to be friends. I would hang out with them all day long. The bakery, granted, I work with like girls that are like, you know, anywhere from 15 to 20 years old, with a few women that are my age. There's probably 4 women my age plus me, and then a bunch of people who are like in the 16 to 21 year old range, maybe 22's pushing it. And that's what it is. That's the kind of job that is. Anyway, so like being friends with people that you work with outside of work became an absolute no fucking way situation for me after I was fired for going to the hospital for the birth of my son. And so you would come in to the office on Monday after a weekend off, and you know, we'd be having like the sit around and shoot the shit conversation before the morning meeting or whatever. And it's going around the room, you know, hey, so what did you do last weekend? Oh, how was your weekend? And yeah, so what did you do last weekend? And, you know, very much like, okay, keep in mind, that's not, the answer to that question is not, oh, you know, me and my family, we went to the beach, we hung out, we checked out this restaurant, you know, we went to this festival or whatever, you know, like you did fun, fulfilling things with the people that you care about, your kids, your wife, your family, whatever. No, fuck that. That's a trick question. When you get asked on Monday morning, what did you do last weekend? But it's all like friendly, like, so how was your weekend? What'd you guys do? What'd you do all the week, you know, over the weekend? Like, you know, just, you know, friendly chit chat. No, the answer to that question is, well, I got my TPS reports done, and I got the refactoring done of the code, and I got the, you know, I got it checked into GitHub and got the testing suite to run on it, and I refactored my factoring of the TPS reports again, and blah, blah, blah. It's all about what work did you get done. So if you answer that question, here, I'm not fucking kidding, these companies, that's how they are. If you answered that question on Monday, if you got duped into answering that question on Monday with some bullshit like, oh, I hung out with my family, I spent time with my kids, I worked on my project car to take to the drag strip, I went on a bicycle ride, oh, we went hiking at such and such place, oh, I took my kids to the zoo, whatever the fuck you did, if you answer that question that way on Monday during chit chat time, you're a fucking marked man. You are a marked individual. You are a targeted individual. The next time it's time for that company to cull the herd and fire a few people because, you know, the CEO needs more money for hookers and blow and the profit margin's not up there or whatever the fuck's going on, you're the one that's getting fired. Because they're going to remember, oh, Adam, he doesn't work on the weekends. He takes his family, he takes his kids to the zoo, and he goes on hikes, and he went on a bicycle ride, and he went camping that weekend, and we were all stuck home working on our TPS reports and refactoring our refactored code again, and blah, 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 and running the test suite on the multi-factor authentication algorithm and blah, and Adam, he just goes and does whatever the fuck he wants. Get rid of him. That's what's going on. So I learned, I don't answer that fucking question. I'm not friends with people outside of the office at all. Zero. And this was September 9th, 2009. 999. Flip it upside down, and what does it spell? That was the day that I cut work people out of my personal life for good, ever. I will never work with a group of people and then be friends with any of them outside of work. Prior to that, all the time. After that, never. Never, ever, 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 ever would I do that again. It was a very different world. Something flipped. I disappeared in like 2004. I worked for myself. I had my own little business. 7, 8, 9. So 5 years later, I took a job with a company. But I was still doing the freelance. But I phased out the freelance at the same time I was getting ramped up at this company. But the whole work world was completely different. Something flipped between 2002 and 2009. Like somewhere in that middle 2000s range, probably because of 9/11, the dot-com bubble burst, and there was a mini depression for a while. And I think people just got scared about losing their job for the first time in a long time. And then we had the economy crash in 2008, which was even worse. So by the time, 2009 comes around, people are terrified of losing their job, and they'll do anything. They'll do anything to keep their job. And so that question, rest. You need to rest, right? But these companies, they don't want that shit. They don't want you spending time with your family, going to your kids' play at the school, going on a hike, going camping for the weekend. Don't fucking do your thing. You do you. You do your shit on your own time. Do not tell the people that you work with that you have any kind of shit going on in your life other than that job. That's all. Come Monday morning at the water cooler chit-chat meeting, whatever the fuck, when people are just like shooting the shit. Oh, so what did you do last weekend? Did you have fun? The answer, I try to avoid it completely. I try to avoid the answer completely. And if I get forced to answer, I'll be like, well, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just kind of like brush it off and change the subject. Don't fucking answer that question if you have a life. Because you are marked for death if you say, I didn't do work for the company over the weekend. They'll lie, they'll bullshit and gaslight you and say, we want you to have a life, we want you to enjoy your time off, we want you to have a good work-life balance. That's all bullshit. That's all fucking bullshit that they're telling you that to trick you into admitting that you took a day of your life for yourself instead of them. And once you tell them that, you're marked for death. You are the next one that's going to get cut when it's time to cull the herd. I'm just telling you this. This is how shit rolls. Don't believe a fucking word they say when HR tells you we want you to have work-life balance. That means we want you to work 24/7. We wish we could get you to work 24 hours a day without having to sleep. but we can't. And so the other thing that I'm getting at here is if you don't take, just like I'm telling you right now, my energy problems because of the bike riding and the physical exhaustion that I put myself through from Saturday morning till Monday night, that 3-day window where I'm just burned and exhausted, and then that bleeds into Tuesday. I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling rough. I gotta do laundry today. That's my new laundry day. I'm gonna try and do things on Tuesday that don't wear me out. But I don't have a lot of energy, so I'm trying to get things out of the way. So when I do have energy the next 3 days, I don't have to do all these chores. And so I can just focus on other things. When I worked at that company with the cots and the people working 100 hours a week, your work goes down the fucking toilet. If you work 100 hours a week for your company, I guarantee you that you will get less work done than you would if you just work 40 hours, 9 to 5, go home, rest, come back, fresh mind, fresh good night's sleep, go home, have fun with your family, bang your wife, do whatever you do at night, get up in the morning, go to fucking work with a fresh mind, fresh energy, get things done, turn around, go home, do it again, take your weekend off. Friday, 4 o'clock, go home early. Get your weekend a head start. Go camping, go sit out in the woods by a creek, smoke a joint, fucking chill, drink some beer, sit by the campfire, go on a hike, get the hell away from it, turn off the internet, don't check your email, all that crap. You'll come back Monday feeling better. You'll get more done in 40 hours that week than if you just grind 100 hours a week. You will not get as much done in 100 hours as you will in 40 if you can't rest, relax, and enjoy your life. You won't. I've watched this shit over and over. I watch people take 3 weeks to get shit done that should be able to be done in a week, but they're so fucking burned out that they just sit in front of the computer and they can barely move their fucking fingers on the keyboard, and they're like falling asleep. It's like trying to drive in the middle of the night after you've been sitting in the driver's seat for 13 hours, and eventually you're driving down the highway and you're just like, whoa, because you just went over the rumble strips, and you're like, oh, thank God they put those on the road, or I'd be in the ditch right now. And you need to fucking, that's why truck drivers are required to pull the fuck over and sleep. They got to keep a log. If you're a semi-truck driver, you have to keep a log of when you sleep and when you drive. You're not allowed to drive more than a certain number of hours in a day, then you have to sleep. They require it by law, because you fall asleep at the wheel on a big rig and you're going to run over a family in the back, you're going to run over someone's SUV that got the stick figure family on the back window, and you're going to crush them all. And then good luck. Then your package didn't get where it was supposed to get, and it's a bad scene. But these software companies, they don't give a fuck about people. Work. And then they're like, well, if you don't want to work 100 hours a week, we'll just bring a bunch of people over from India who will do it for $30,000 a year. And they'll have an H-1B visa where they're tied to this company as an indentured servant, and they can't go work at another company. And we'll just squeeze them to death. And they'll be happy to do it because they're not in slumdog India anymore. And so that's what they do. And so, but you will get more done if you rest. I went on an interview at another company. I've talked about this more than once. I went to an interview at another company, downtown Pittsburgh. State-of-the-art office space. This office space probably cost hundreds of millions of dollars. It was insane. I'm just going to tell that out of all the shit in this office, It took up 2 or 3 floors of this high-rise building. The conference room, there was a conference room with like 100 seats and a podium and another set of seats. It was kind of like a lecture room. And it had a whiteboard going all the way around the room. 360 degrees. It was a round room with a whiteboard going all the way around the room. The person at the podium start drawing on the whiteboard when they're giving their lecture or whatever, right? They had a little joystick on the podium. They twist the joystick. The whole room rotates. The whole room. You're in a rotating room. And as the speaker is talking and writing on the whiteboard, he moves around and moves around and moves around. And at the end, so like if you're in an all-day meeting, at the end of the day, the room spun 360 degrees while the speaker writes on the whiteboard, and everything that was put on the whiteboard is now on a panoramic 360 degree round room. How much does it cost to build a round room with a motor and a whole platform that spins around the whole fucking room while the presenter is up on the podium talking and all the other, all the other shit that goes into that? That room costs more than your home. That room costs more than your house, Dave. You told me how much your house costs. That room costs more than that. And so I'm going on a tour of this company, and I was like, this is really, some of this stuff is cool, I'm not gonna lie, creative and cool. And I mean, there was all kinds of shit like this in this place. It wasn't just that room. Think about, multiply that by 3 stories of an office building full of shit like that. And that's just one of the things. But one of the other things, another thing that I saw, they led me down this one hallway. And fuck, man, I'm having like flashbacks on this. So the interview is going good. Everything's going fine. And they lead me down this hallway. And there's these little rooms, side by side by side by side by side. Each little room has a little, it looked like an IKEA room. It looked like it was furnished by IKEA. Had a little bed, like a twin size bed, a little nightstand with a lamp, a chair, like a tiny, like a jail cell, about the size of a prison cell, because I've been in prison, so I know, about the size of a prison cell, with the little bed, little nightstand, and a little tiny like nightstand with a lamp, and a chair with a couple arms on it, but like an IKEA chair, and just a basic jail cell. If a jail cell was furnished by IKEA, this is what it would look like. And then he pushed a button on the wall, and so each room, it was like if a jail cell was furnished by IKEA, you shut the door, but there's a floor-to-ceiling window, like wide. The whole front wall of the room was glass, right? Has a door that shuts, and then a floor-to-ceiling glass window. Like the Empire in Star Wars would build jail cells like this. This would be one of the styles of the Imperial jail cell. Dude pushes a button on the wall, and the glass, poof! It's one of those frosted glass windows that you can push a button and turn the thing so that nobody can see in the window. And he goes, yeah, and this is where some of our employees stay when they're working late and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so am I going to have to, like, is this where I'm going to have to live during the week? As a joke. I just said, oh, that's interesting. Is this where am I going to have to move in here Monday through Friday? And when I get my job here, is that how this goes? And the guy just looks at me like, did you just crack a fucking joke? Like, and I'm like, dude, you got a whole fucking hallway full of these little prison cells. Like, this is fucking weird. Oh, that shit was over. I'm telling you, as soon as I cracked that joke, the guy looks at me like, and he goes, okay. And we walked, he just kind of made this like, oh, okay. We went right to the conference room where I left my laptop bag and all that stuff. And he goes, okay, well, I think we're done with this interview now. He's like, thanks for coming in. We'll let you know, don't call us, we'll call you. And like, he was in a hurry, pack my bag, get all my stuff put away, my laptop and my portfolio and all that kind of crap. And he walks me right out to the reception area and he's like, all right, see ya. That fast. Everything was going great until he took me to the company prison cells, and I made a joke about it. He was like, no, fuck this guy, we can't have. Good fucking riddance. Good thing I didn't get that job. Be living in a fucking IKEA prison cell Monday through Friday because I gotta work 19 hours a day and try to get 3 hours of sleep before I go back to work in my IKEA fucking jail cell. Like, imagine getting fucking changed in the morning into a fresh set of clothes, and for some reason the fucking glass wall just goes poof, and it's all of a sudden see-through again while you've got your dingling hanging out and for all to see. Like, what the fuck, dude? Oh, that was fucking weird. That's gotta be one of the weirdest fucking job interviews I've ever been on. But it's just another example of how these companies, once again, if you go into work on Monday and you're sitting around the fucking meeting room, oh, what did you do last weekend? Do not fucking tell them that you did fun shit. You went camping, keep that shit to yourself. Fuck, man, if I so much as check my email on Sunday, I'd just be like, well, I was just keeping up with company policy, and I reread the company handbook, and I responded to all your emails and kept up with all that, and blah blah blah. Like, heaven forbid. I mean, I made a policy not to even look at the fucking email. When I leave on Friday, I'm not even gonna look at my email until Monday morning. I don't give a fuck. There's nothing that's that much of a fucking emergency that I gotta do that. Unless I signed up for that job. There are jobs, if you're an IT person in a company like that and you're responsible for keeping the website up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then yes. If the website goes down, if Amazon.com goes down Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m., somebody has to fix that shit. But you signed up for that, and that's the job you agreed to do. I go to a bakery on Saturday instead of taking the weekend off. I signed up to do that job. But if I'm a software designer, the designer of software and what it's supposed to look like when it launches and how it's supposed to work after it goes live, there's no fucking company emergency that I gotta get up off my ass on Sunday afternoon to fix a fucking Figma file and a prototype. Maybe there's a meeting on Monday and somebody wants to fiddle with something over the weekend. Have at it. It's a collaborative tool. Anybody can log in. Anybody can make the change. Don't bother me about it. I don't give a fuck. Fine, I'll get up early on Monday and do it before the meeting. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's about the... And what kind of emergency is that? A prototype change for a Monday morning meeting that should have not been on Monday morning, number one. I would never schedule a meeting like that for a Monday morning. That's a Wednesday meeting. But anyway, regardless of the fact, we're going to have, there might be a job that requires you to bust ass on a weekend. You should be getting paid for it. But in my line of work, no. My weekend was supposed to be my recovery time so that I can come back and be fresh and actually do a bunch of work Monday through Friday and then chill out again. And your work is going to be better when you're fresh. And when my work right now, my biggest problem that I'm having right now is my lack of energy. And it's having an effect on my ability to get things done. And so that's just the gist of what's going on right now. I'm an hour and 10 minutes into this. I'll read you one more thing, Jesus Calling today. We're going to read it together because I didn't even read it today. But we'll see what Jesus has to say to me today. Yesterday was all about resting. Rest on the day I needed to rest. Imagine that. Today, Jesus Calling, July 22nd, find freedom through seeking to please me above all else. You can only have one master. I think that goes along with what I'm saying. You can have only one master. When you let others' expectations drive you, you scatter your energy to the winds. Your own desire to look good can also drain your energy. This is exactly what I was just talking about. And I'm reading this live, but you're watching it a week later. But I just talked about all this stuff, and now I'm reading this for the first time this year. Find freedom through seeking to please me above all else. That means do what God wants you to do. Don't care about what your CEO wants you to do. You can only have one master. Is it going to be God, or is it going to be your TPS reports this weekend? Pick God. Trust me. God's better. When you let others' expectations drive you, you scatter your energy to the winds. So yeah, when you bust your ass and you work 100 hours a week for a company that would just throw you to the curb the second they can get some guy from India to come over and do your job for 1/3 the price they're paying you, you're out on the street. They don't care about you, so why scatter your energy to the wind busting ass 100 hours a week for someone's expectations that doesn't care about you? Your own desire to look good can also drain your energy. You're trying to look good by working 100 hours a week for your company, but it drains your energy. God says, I am your master, and I do not drive you to be what you are not. Your pretense displeases me, especially when it is in my service. So some people will do that. They'll say, well, I'm going to work 100 hours a week because Jesus wants me to provide for my family and put food on the table and blah, blah, blah. God says, I am your master, and I do not drive you to be what you are not. You're not a corporate wage slave. You're not a corporate peon. You're a child of God. That's much better. That's a much better thing to be. Your pretense displeases me, especially when it's in my service. If you're busting ass 100 hours a week for some scumbag CEO that goes to the Coldplay concert with somebody else's wife, and he's probably doing lines of coke off of her tit while they're both cheating on their spouse, and you're working for that person and sacrificing your time and energy 100-something hours a week to because you think that that's service to God. It's not. It's not. God says concentrate on staying close to me at all times. It is impossible to be inauthentic while you are focusing on my presence. So yeah, there you go. I'm trying to be like, I guess I'm like, I guess I don't try that hard, but people are like, oh, you shouldn't swear as much on your YouTube videos, and how can you talk about God and swear in the same sentence and blah, blah. Well, it's impossible to be inauthentic while you're focusing on my presence. So I'm focusing on God's presence, and my authentic personality is just coming out. I can't shut it off and just be this watered down version of somebody I'm not. And that works out better in the long run. I have a professional me. I go into the bakery. I'm not all fuckity fuck all day. I don't just swear. Every now and then I'll blurt one out. I just naturally, but I naturally just feel the room, right? And so, and I'm constantly like, what can I get away with? How far can I push that one? Ooh, how far can I go here? Nope, can't go that far, gotta come back. You know, the Bob Saget scale of offensive behavior goes from Full House, Bob Saget, America's TV dad, America's funniest home videos, America's TV smiling host, non-offensive, watered-down humor for suburban soccer moms, all the way up to Bob Saget's HBO special, and it's like, holy fuck, that's a wide gamut from a 0 to 10. If you've ever seen Full House, America's Funniest Home Videos, and then you watched Bob Saget's stand-up special, you're just going to be in shock. You have to watch the movie Half Baked and a few episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm to get the level 5 before you go all in and see the level 10. Because Bob Saget did, you know, what he did to get famous. Then he's got this like middle ground where he would do cameo appearances in movies and TV shows. And it's really funny because you're like, oh my God, that's Bob Saget, America's dad. What? Like, and then you look at his HBO special and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, it makes the, like, I don't get offended. And even I was like, Bob Saget, what the fuck was that? That, holy shit. That's what people told me. They're like, you're going to watch this. Somebody one of my best friends at the time got me to watch it. He's like, you're not going to believe this. And I thought maybe it would be funny because I saw the movie Half Baked and I saw Curb Your Enthusiasm with Bob Saget doing his cameo appearances and stuff. And I'm like, man, he's really funny. And my friend was like, wait till you see this. Wait till you see this. It's going to be like, you're going to feel like you just watched that video of two girls pooping in a cup by the time you watch Bob Saget's HBO special. Oh, man. Oh, I can't even. Oh. Like, oh, it's like that. It's like you just watched that video that was going around in the early 2000s of two girls pooping in a cup. And you're, oh, man. Oh, that's what it's like to watch Bob Saget's HBO special. That's a 0 to 10. I think the most I've ever been able to get away with at the bakery is like a 3 on the 0 to 10. I've worked at jobs where you could get away with like a level 6, a level... Shit, man, at the bike shop, working in a bicycle shop with a bunch of dudes, you could go all the way up to like level 8, 9. You're never going to go to 10. That's like in the movie Tropic Thunder when Robert Downey Jr. goes, well, you never go full retard. You never go Bob Saget level 10. That's going to make people... That's where it stops being funny. And people are just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So... I'm just trying to find, you know, that is like the perfect scale of how offensive a person can be, a 0 to 10. I went all the way to 10. And that got me put in federal prison for 2 years. I dropped a Bob Saget level 10 on social media, and they put me in federal prison for it for 2 fucking years. 20 months. With 3 years of probation on top of it for going level 10. If I had just stuck with like an 8 or a 9, I would still be living the dream. So, Bob Saget, he, you know, rest in peace. He gave us the perfect scale to rate material about how offensive it is. Is it, you know, Full House? You know, is it, what's his name, Joey, coming in, oh, blow me down, oh, I'm Popeye, for the 100th fucking time, or, oh, I'm Bullwinkle, you got it, dude, right? That dumb shit. And then you got this fake laugh track that they pump in every time a kid says something. That's level 1. Level 10 is the HBO special where Bob Saget's saying all this crazy shit, and the audience is just like even the audience, they pan around. People are just sitting there going, what in the fuck did I just watch? Because that's a perfect scale to judge. So I'm constantly pushing and prodding. I'm probably like a level 6 on this YouTube channel, maybe 7. Maybe what some of the things I just said, 2 girls pooping in a cup, that's like level 8 territory right there. But that's a real video. Like, my friend came over one day and he's like, you gotta watch this video, man. And I'm like, oh, what? And he sits down in front of my computer, check this out. And I'm like 3 seconds and I'm like, what the fuck is, what? Turn it off. What the fuck are you doing, dude? What the fuck was that? 2 girls pooping in a fucking cup and then they're like, I can't even talk about it anymore. Fuck, man. That's like level 8. Bob Saget went beyond 2 girls pooping in a cup and like just fucking holy shit, man. I could never watch that again. I've seen it. I don't really remember what he said. I don't remember any of the bit. I just remember going for like 2 hours or however long it was. I was just like, what is this? What is going on? What? They put this on TV? HBO puts has a show, Game of Thrones. The very first episode is a guy banging his sister. And that's fine, but Bob Saget was like 100 times worse than that. Like, whoa. Oh, it was so crazy to watch that. But I won't watch that again. I won't watch that again, and I don't get offended by things. I'm just like, that's not even worth my time to even just to like recap and refresh my memory. I don't need that. So yeah, I mean, you know, it is impossible to be inauthentic while you're focusing on his presence. I'm being authentic. I'm just telling you how it is. This is the world we live in. I'm not the one I'm not the goofy looking guy who looks like he could be a child molester writing books about a guy that bangs his sister that gets turned into an HBO series. That's another guy. I'm just talking about it. Somebody else did that. You know, call me the asshole. I don't care. I'm not one of the 2 girls that pooped in a fucking cup and then were like eating it and I didn't do that. I would never that would never even be an idea. Like, hey, you know what would make a really great video? Hey, girls, come over here for a minute. No! The fuck comes up with that? So, I don't know. I can't be inauthentic when I'm on this video camera. It just doesn't work. It doesn't happen. So, anyway, that's an hour and 20 minutes of commentary, and I've got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. I'll just make it another video. I'll make this record video day. Peace out.